Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Almost Normal. Okay, I'm just gonna get straight into the topic of the day, which is imposter syndrome, which is literally something that I have dealt with my whole life. I find it extremely hard to celebrate myself. I don't know why, I don't know where it comes from, but trying to tell myself that I did a good job and like patting myself on the back is literally such a mission for me. Like, it does not come easy at all. And I feel like it's not that uncommon. I feel as human beings, we naturally kind of put ourselves down for some reason. We are our biggest critics at the end of the day. And so if anyone's gonna sort of tell us that we're not doing a good job, it's probably gonna be us more than anyone else. If I think back on my life, I've rarely had anyone tell me I've done a bad job. They may think it, but I've like rarely had someone say like, oh, I really don't like that work that you did, or the speech that you made was horrible. Like, I have rarely heard that. But somehow in my life, especially now as an adult, very weird to call myself an adult, but especially now as a slightly more grown up person, it is so difficult. And I wish I could pinpoint it and say, when I was growing up, people would always tell me that I was fucking up and I couldn't achieve anything and I was just an idiot. But I don't think that I really experienced anything like that. I think I had pretty supportive parents, and I think all my friends were very loving and supportive as well. I don't think that I experienced a lot of people putting me down as a kid. So I couldn't really pinpoint like where this mentality comes from. I can't really say, this one time I wrote an essay and my teacher told me that it was shit. You know, that's probably happened, but I can't imagine that that has affected me long term in being able to congratulate myself. Like, I don't think so. I think it is just human nature to put ourselves down. I think it's human nature to judge ourselves. And yeah, we are our worst critic. Like, that is known. No one judges you as much as you judge yourself. At the end of the day, everyone is thinking about themselves. I really do believe that. Yes, people care about you. Yes, people love you. Yes, people want to know that you're okay. But at the end of the day, human beings are extremely selfish creatures. Like, we are really, really focused on ourselves and what we're doing and what we're achieving and what we're not achieving and all of that, and like comparing ourselves to other people. That's still just about ourselves. When we judge other people, I typically find I judge other people when I'm feeling bad about myself. And I feel like when I'm feeling good about myself, I am a much nicer person and I don't walk around comparing and judging myself to other people. So I know that the person that's telling me that I'm unable to achieve things, that if I do achieve things, it's like a fluke. You know, there was a mistake, something happened that meant that I like randomly achieved the thing and had nothing to do with my merit or ability. I know that's all coming from inside, you know? I know that. Like, I have had enough people tell me that I've done a good job for me to believe it if this mentality came from external factors. It doesn't. It really doesn't. I guess one big reason why I'm talking about this today is because which I keep talking about, and I swear to God, it's over now. I'm not going to mention it ever again. Oh, that's like imposter syndrome once again, talking. That is insane. That is literally imposter syndrome. I'm like, I don't want to talk about the thing that I achieved. That's crazy. Okay, anyway, I, on Thursday night, had an art show at school. I worked pretty hard on the show. I spent the last month, basically before it, as a hermit, not talking to anyone, just locked myself away in my studio, headphones on. That was my life for a month. Painting and being alone. Literally the most isolating month ever. And I felt like I was doing a pretty good job while I was doing it. And so anyway, Thursday night comes along. It's time to put the paintings up. It's time to invite people. My school is kind of like outside of LA. It's not in LA. It's in a place called Santa Clarita. So it's like a little bit of a drive, but like LA people know that they have to drive to get to most places. Like, even if you drive from one side of LA to another, that can take you an hour or 2 hours even. So driving outside of LA doesn't really change anything. It's still kind of like a 30-minute drive from like where I live to school, which is not that bad, but I think in my head, it's just the fact that it's like outside of LA that makes me feel like no one's gonna do that drive. You say like Santa Clarita and people are like, oh shit, that sounds really far, like I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, these are just all the thoughts that were going on in my head about the night. I had invited a few people, not too many, because again, I was sort of like downplaying the show and I was like, why am I inviting people to this art show at school? Like it's completely irrelevant and stupid. And on the night, I started to get really, really nervous because I had invited some people and I started to get nervous that people were gonna show up, and I felt like I had tricked them into driving to Santa Clarita, which again is like not that far at all. It just sounds out of the way, but it's really not. Just put on a sat nav and like you'll see that it's very close. But when the night started to approach, I started to like regret inviting people. And I didn't invite that many people again, but like I started to regret inviting anyone. I was like, they're gonna get here, they're gonna see how irrelevant this show is, and they're gonna be upset with me because I made them come all this way to see my work that I made. Like, what is going on in my head? Like, why do I think I'm so special that I expect people to drive out here to see something that I made? Like, I don't think I have the skill or ability to really show people something that's like incredible and like worth the drive. Like I don't think I'm worth that. And I started to like really, really panic. And it was like kind of getting closer and closer to the time. And I was doing my makeup and I was sort of setting up tables and things to put drinks and donuts on and stuff. And I was really panicking. I was really nervous. People were gonna come and they were going to be upset with me because they were going to see how stupid this show was, and they were going to be like, why did Rita invite me to this? People started to arrive. Literally every time I saw someone's face, I was filled with anxiety and panic because I was like, shit, I've invited these people here for something that I've done. Because I think it's so brilliant. Like, it's not that brilliant. It's not that amazing. It's hardly an achievement. I was getting so nervous about people's reaction to being there. Obviously, the people who came knew what they were coming for. They knew they were coming to see my school. They knew they were coming to see my paintings. Like they got the whole memo. Like I didn't lie to them. I didn't say like Elton John was going to be there or anything like that. Like they got all the information that was there and they decided to come. And that is the whole thing. That was like, that's it. You know, I didn't say like Barack Obama's going to be here. Maybe if you turn up, you might meet him or like anything like that. Like if you arrive, like you're going to get like 1 million subscribers because there's this really cool opportunity coming. Like I didn't say anything that was not the truth. I said, hi, I'm having a mid-res painting show at my school. I would love for you to come. Don't worry, come if you can. No stress. That was the advertisement. That was the invitation. But when I started to see people arriving, I was like, oh my God, they're going to be so disappointed by what I've done. They're going to be so confused as to why I invited them. Like, fuck. Of course, everyone that came are my friends and they all complimented me. They all said my work was great. They were so happy that they finally got to see my work in person because I work but mostly at school, and like a lot of my friends have not even come to see my school. They were excited to see where I spend every day of my life and where I have been for the past 2 years. They were really happy and excited to be there, you know. They were taking pictures and they were saying like how beautiful everything looked, and they were pinpointing little parts of the work that they enjoyed, and like they were into it, like for sure. Like I don't think that they were lying. However, I did at that point. I was like, they are just saying all of this stuff to make me feel better, but they don't really mean it. Like I was just convincing myself that everyone was lying to me and that they really, really didn't want to be there. And I just like couldn't get out of this mindset. You know, people would compliment me and I would just be like, oh, thanks. Yeah, oh, thank you. You know, and in my head, I was just like, why are these people lying to me? Like, they don't have to say anything. I don't want them to say anything. People that weren't my friends, people that I did not know personally, people that just were at the school for the Thursday night show, which by the way was not just my work, like it was other people's work too. So other people's family and friends were invited as well. they turned up, and people that didn't even know who I was were saying, oh, I love your work, by the way. I don't know who you are, but like, it looks great. Like, and I'm literally sitting there like, why are these people lying to me? Like, there's no point in them saying anything to me. I don't even know these people. That should have been clue number one. These people do not know me, yet they're coming up to tell me that they enjoy something that I made. And I still cannot accept that I have maybe achieved something. I am still questioning everything. I'm like, maybe they just go around to everyone and say that I'm not special. Like, so insane, and just like so hard and down on myself. And the whole night kind of became like just very low energy for me, because the whole time I was just like panicking about the fact that I had like forced people to come here to see something that was like irrelevant to life. And I was just so much like, it's something I made, it can't be that special. It's something I made, it can't be that special. It's something I did, can't be that special. Even when I got home and everyone went home and I got texts from people saying how happy they were that they came, and they were so happy to see the school, and they were so happy to see my work finally, like, even after that, I was like, these people better stop lying to me, because it's getting annoying. Like, can you just stop? Like, just stop. Like, I get it. It's not irrelevant. Whatever. Like, let's just get over it. I'm sorry I invited you. Let's just move on. Yeah? Let's just move on. I apologize. I think just quickly, like, I just want to explain exactly what imposter syndrome is. I would define it as an inability to internalize success and achievement. It's an inability to tell yourself that you did a good job and people are proud of you. It's an inability to accept that you as a human being could achieve something so great that people actually liked it. Yeah, imposter syndrome literally just makes you feel like a fraud all the time. It makes you feel like you tricked people into letting you into something, or you've tricked people into celebrating you, or you're making people lie to you, and you just feel like a complete fraud. You feel like there was a fluke in the system, and that's why you happen to achieve the thing. It has no relation to your merit or ability. It just like randomly happened, and it's not really something to feel proud of. That's kind of how I would define imposter syndrome. It's basically just like an inability to be proud of yourself, an inability to be like, well done, like that is such a good, like such a good job, like congratulations. Like, it's an inability to do that. I was thinking also how imposter syndrome, when it comes to like creatives, might feel worse, because the work that you're making or the job that you have is basically based on your ideas, it's based on your reactions to the world, it's based on you 100%. If you're a painter, if you're a vlogger, if you're a musician, if you're anything like that, I think that imposter syndrome hits you much harder, because you're not being set specific tasks that you have to fulfill, and then once you fulfill them, someone says, okay, that's great, thank you very much, you've done it. Just being a creative person, you're basically saying like, oh, I have something to say that I want people to hear. And I think that's a really difficult thing. Like, my painting series for this show was kind of a lot about female empowerment and taking females' bodies away from the male gaze, and like sort of reclaiming our bodies as our own, and not having our bodies just seen and used as like a sexual object. And that was kind of like my idea towards my work, and with that idea, I created visual art try and like put that idea across. And that was all my doing. No one told me to do that. It was no one else's idea. No one told me even to paint. I could have done a sculpture or anything. Like, that was all coming from myself. And I think that imposter syndrome really eats away at creative people, because it is so, you're like, everything you're doing is all you, full judgment on yourself, you know? You're not having anyone say like, oh, thank you for like filling out that form properly, or like filing that paperwork properly. And like, they can judge whether you filed the paperwork properly or not. They probably wouldn't lie to you about that. They probably wouldn't say, oh, well done for that, and then lie about it. Like, if you didn't do the paperwork properly, I'm sure they would say like, can you do this again? Because we need it for the business. But with the creative stuff, it's literally like, you're working for yourself, you're judging yourself on your own on your own ideas. And so I think it just is it comes with the territory of that, just as like a self-judging human being. I can think of a lot of different times where I achieved something and I completely like brushed it over. One being just the show that I just had. But I remember getting into school. I remember getting into the school that I go to now and being so hard on myself. First of all, I got sober when I was 22. And then at 24 years old, I decided to go to college. I applied to 2 colleges. I applied to UCLA and the school I'm at now. I got into the school I'm at now and I did not get into UCLA. I found out that I got into the school I'm at now before finding out I didn't get into UCLA. Wanted to go to UCLA so badly. And I think that when I got into the school I'm at now, I had a glimpse of pride. I was like, oh my God, like that's kind of great that I got into that school. But I think that that pride was also mixed with a little bit of hope that I would also get into UCLA, because I was like, oh, if I got into this school, like maybe I can get into UCLA. So I think that pride was sort of like diluted slightly by me just being quite hopeful that I would get into somewhere else. Then when I didn't get into that school, I was like really hard on myself. You know, I was like, this school that I got into obviously isn't that good of a school because I got in. You know, if I got in somewhere, it couldn't have been that good of a school to start with. I'm not really that proud of myself. Like, it's literally like, if I achieve this thing, I don't think it's worth celebrating. That is literally just like the main thought that goes through your head, is that if I achieve this thing, it couldn't have been that hard to do. It couldn't have been that difficult. It's not that big of an achievement because if I did it, anyone can do it. And I think that's kind of like where imposter syndrome like is born, within that thought. So getting into college, which should be something that you should be really proud of, and it's like an amazing achievement, and it's not something that everyone gets to do, and it's not something everyone gets to do other than the fact that they don't get in. Like, there are other parts of going to college that people are unable to achieve. So getting into college and being able to go to college is a huge achievement and such a privilege. And it should be something that you should be so proud of when it happens to you. It's massive. Like, going to college is a huge life change, you know. I feel like being at the school for 2 years, I'm a completely different person, and I would say mostly for the better. Getting into college is one of those milestones in life that you should be so happy about and so proud of. Growing up, my family were not that strict on like schooling or going to college or anything like that. I think that for some reason in my family it was not that big of a thing. So I think that when I got into college this time, I was a little bit like, well, it's like not really that big of a deal. And like possibly the fact that my parents were not that interested in college maybe had a factor in me downplaying the achievement. But I think at the end of the day, I think I probably would have been down on myself no matter what, because that's kind of just how my brain works. I also considered my age. I was like, oh, well, I'm like older than most students that got into the school. Like, the fact that I got into the school is completely irrelevant because 18-year-olds got into the school. And that's like me also judging myself on my age, which is completely ridiculous. But I remember just a big milestone that I did not know how to celebrate was getting into college, which seems like one of those things that you should have a party about, you know? And I think you should. My brother just got into college. And he got into a college he really wanted to go to. And when I found out he got into college, I literally wanted to cry. Like, he just sent me a text saying he got in. And I was like bawling in bed. I was so proud of him. And he did the same thing that I did. He got into college. About the same age, by the way, as well. He's 21. I was so happy for him. I was so proud of him. I was like ecstatic with happiness that he achieved this thing. And I started to think back on when I achieved the thing and I felt literally nothing. Literally nothing. I was like, so, like, congratulations, you got into a child's art school. Completely just putting myself down 100%. And it's like, then someone else does it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy. Like, I was just beaming for him. I was so happy for him. That is just so crazy, you know? that realization when I was sitting in bed being like, oh my God, I'm so proud of him. And then just thinking back on like when I found out I got into college and I was just like, ugh, whatever. It's insane. I don't know what that is. I don't know the psychological, I don't understand it like on a scientific level. And I really would like to understand that on a psychological level because that is something is going wrong there. But that's like one big achievement that I found really hard to celebrate. Another big achievement that I found really hard to celebrate and do every year is the fact that I got sober. I literally feel like that is nothing to celebrate. And every year, people want to celebrate it like a birthday. You get a little cake in your meeting. People want to take you out for a meal. You get flowers. Like, people treat your sober birthday like your actual birthday. And every year it comes around, I just had it in October, I feel nothing for myself. I feel literally nothing for myself. I'm like, why are all these people celebrating me? Why do I have all these flowers? This seems so silly. I really didn't do anything that special. You know, I always felt that with my actual birthday, because I was like, I was just born, like, congratulations, I just managed not to die for another year. But the sober birthday is something that I should be proud of because I was an addict, you know, and I still am. And stopping drinking and doing drugs was something that was so difficult. You know, that was not an easy thing at all. And I know that. So every year it's kind of crazy that I'm still just like, well, maybe I just like wasn't really an addict. That's my thought process. I go every year, I say, maybe I achieved it because it wasn't so hard because I'm not actually an addict. And like, that is really dangerous. That's a really dangerous mentality to have if you are an addict, which I am, because then that'll cause you to just sort of be like, well, maybe I'm not really, so I'm just gonna like start drinking and doing drugs again and like, we'll see what happens. We don't wanna do that. We do not wanna do that. So I guess I'm gonna get into sort of like the importance of celebrating yourself because it is so freaking important for so many different reasons. Mostly just to be happy. Mostly just to have a happy fucking life. To be positive about yourself, to wake up and be happy and proud of yourself is so important. It's like beyond anything, you know? To wake up and say, I am a great person. I'm so happy I did this. I'm so happy with myself. To wake up and have a smile on your face because of something you did. Because you are able to achieve things and to remind yourself of that, whatever. It is incredibly important to be able to celebrate yourself. It is incredibly important to be able to celebrate yourself. It's something I'm working on. It's something I've been working on for a while. Really difficult. It is really difficult. Sometimes when I achieve something and I don't feel proud after it, I start to think like, did I pick the wrong goal in life? Like, is this right for me? Like, should I try something different? Because surely if I'm achieving something I really want, I'm gonna feel proud about it. And that's not necessarily true. I've had this thought so many times where I'm like, surely if I achieved this thing and I really wanted it, I would be really excited, and I don't feel excited. This is not true. Like, imposter syndrome is strong and it's probably within most of us. Just because you find it hard to be proud of yourself because you achieve something does not mean that you're going towards the wrong goal. Doesn't mean that at all. I have achieved things in various different areas of my life, and each one I find it very difficult to celebrate. And every time I have the feeling, did I achieve the wrong thing? Like, is this just not where my life path was meant to go? Because surely I would have been really excited about this, and I'm not. This is not true. This is false. Like, it is extremely hard to celebrate yourself. That it is. It's really hard to take pride in things. I think that one danger of it is that you can start to feel like you're not on the right path of life because you're kind of always second guessing yourself and you're kind of always questioning whether what you achieved was the correct thing to do because you're like, oh, I don't feel proud of myself. And that can stop you in your tracks. I've had so many times where I second guess my career choices and my career goals and dreams because each milestone I take within those career goals, I'm like, oh, don't really feel that happy about it, like maybe this isn't the career for me, and it can literally just stop you in your tracks. It can prevent you from moving forward with it, because it's just like, if I don't feel good now, like why am I going to spend more time on this and probably not feel good about it in the future again? That is like one reason why it's like kind of essential for you to be able to celebrate yourself. It's kind of essential to say, I did a really good job, and to understand and acknowledge that, because I know that for me, my imposter syndrome has stopped me from pursuing dreams. It has almost stopped me from continuing with something that I really, really want to do. It's kind of just saying like, I don't feel good, so I'm not going to continue. And like, I have felt that with literally everything. Like if I achieve things on this podcast, I find it hard to feel good about it. And then I kind of don't really want to like make another podcast episode because I'm like, ugh, like feeling shitty about it. Same goes with my painting. I achieved a show, didn't really feel great about it. So like, maybe I should just stop. Maybe this isn't the dream for me. Being able to celebrate yourself is so important, because it just makes you excited for the next thing. It makes you want to keep going. It makes you want to like move further down on the path that you're going onto. And when you don't feel like you want to celebrate yourself, you kind of go a bit down the path, and then you like question everything, and maybe go back and go down another one and question everything. And like, if you don't have the ability to appreciate your achievements, then life starts to get really, really hard to move forward with. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Life is meant to be full of achievements. It's meant to be full of failures. Life is there to be enjoyed, mostly, hopefully. And if your biggest critic, which is yourself, is like who you're with all the time, by the way, is following you around and telling you that the thing you achieved is like irrelevant, that is really, really hard to live with. It's really, really hard to get excited about anything. Just like, God, I don't feel good when I like put all this work into this thing and I achieve something. I don't feel very good about it. I don't feel different. So what is the point? It doesn't make me feel any better. So I don't really get it. Celebrating small wins helps reinforce that you're like capable of making progress. Like, it reminds you can keep going, gives you more confidence, and in turn, it kind of forces you to challenge yourself even more and to take on bigger projects and to get excited about future endeavors. I think if you're going down this path and each time you achieve something, it's just like completely goes under the bridge or whatever, it's kind of disheartening. Even if you're feeling like super depressed and then one day you make it out of bed and have a shower, like that's an incredible win. And it's something that people find really hard to celebrate because they're just like, anyone's doing this. But it's an incredible achievement. And like, as someone who struggles with a lot of mental illness, I can understand that when it comes to other people, you know? When people are saying, I'm really mentally not doing very well, but today I managed to get out of bed and have a shower. I want to weep with joy for them. I'm like, oh my God, that is so amazing. For me, doesn't really compute as something that I should be like, congratulations, yay. When you're proud of yourself, it is such a nice feeling. It makes you so happy. Like, I've had moments where I do genuinely allow myself to feel proud of myself, and I feel like when I'm walking down the street, I'm like walking on sunshine. I am like happy, excited, everything feels good. I feel like euphoric. Celebrating yourself, feeling proud of yourself is one of the best feelings. One of the best feelings. It is so, so nice to be like, well done, go get yourself a hot chocolate, you did a great job. Like, that is such a nice feeling. It's a feeling that we need as human beings. It's a feeling that is essential to get us excited about life. And we need to be excited about life. Again, life is for enjoying. We need to be excited. We need to have like fire up our ass, and we need that. We need to be internally pushed forward. Without it, it's just, you feel like you're working so hard and it doesn't mean anything. It just keeps you motivated. Celebrating each little thing keeps you just motivated to keep going. If you're not celebrating things, you know, it feels kind of irrelevant to keep going. Learning to be proud of yourself, learning to understand that you did a good job shifts your mindset completely. Because if you're not thinking about what you did well, you're probably thinking about what you haven't done well or what you're lacking. And that's like not a good way to be thinking about yourself. Celebrating the wins just like reduces the chance of burnout. And burnout is so horrible. I've experienced it a bunch. And Burnout is when you feel like you're kind of getting nowhere and you just your brain kind of just shuts down and it just wants you to stop doing everything. And I think that as you go on in life, and life is hard and life is easy and life is difficult and there are goods and there are bads and there are successes and there are failures, like, you know, the celebrations reduce the chances of just being absolutely exhausted. You know, like an example of that would be if you're working towards a fitness goal, for example. If you're working towards a fitness goal, getting fit, getting to your body, whatever it is, your body goal, that takes so much fucking work. That is not easy. And sometimes the results can be really, really slow. Sometimes the results can just take so much longer than you expected. And trying to get to your body goal is something that takes so much work, mental work and physical work. And sometimes the wins, minuscule, sometimes the body just does what it kind of wants to do, and it's kind of hard to physically see a difference or mentally see a difference, you know, in weeks after starting the journey. Without the ability to celebrate the small wins, it makes you just want to give up. And I know so many people who have tried to get fitter, to get healthier, to get more muscly. And because the process can be so slow, let's say you go 3 weeks into your journey to your body goal or whatever, and like on the scale, you're not really seeing any difference. Physically, in the mirror, you're not seeing any difference. There are differences happening. Sometimes they happen just really, really slow. And I think to celebrate saying like, yes, today I got like my 5-a-day and that's like, that was my small goal towards this big goal and I'm gonna celebrate that because that's really awesome. Or let's say I went to the gym 4 days a week this week and that was my goal. I'm gonna celebrate that because, okay, maybe I physically can't see anything happening yet, but I'm doing everything that I want to do in order to reach this huge goal, which is gonna take time, effort, and work to get there. And if we're not saying congratulations to ourselves about the small things, like the little goals on the way to the big goal, we're not going to probably ever achieve the big goal because we're going to get so burnt out and so bored and so disheartened because we haven't seen any difference yet. We're just going to completely stop and give up. Like, I have done it 1,000 times over. I have wanted to work really hard at being stronger and more muscly, and I find it really hard to say like, well, I did all the classes I wanted to do this week. That's a win. Congratulations. Or I got my protein intake that I've been trying to get. That's a win. Congratulations. Like, without saying those things, all I'm focusing on is the end goal, which could be months or even years away. And without the small little like pep talks, without the small congratulations to myself, I'm never gonna get there. I'm never gonna get there. It's gonna be so long and boring and I'm gonna be just disheartened because I'm not reaching the goal. Literally being able to celebrate the small things, just like the protein intake or whatever it is, that is so important to keep going. It is so vital to keep going. I have stopped YouTube because I was unable to celebrate the little wins and I had this big goal in mind. I have stopped YouTube so many times over because I'm like, I am not at the goal I want to be at, and I am finding it very difficult to say congratulations about anything small that I'm achieving. I have stopped painting. This whole summer I just stopped painting completely because I was like, I'm not in a gallery, no one's buying my work, like, it's not working. I found it completely impossible to celebrate the small goals, okay? I completely found it impossible. It made me stop wanting to work at all because I was like, literally I'm achieving nothing. And I was achieving small things, completely unable to recognize those things and to say like, well done. I can't really express enough to you how important it is to say like good job on the little things that are leading up to the big thing. I cannot say how vital it is. I cannot say how many times imposter syndrome has just taken me down and I've wasted weeks or months just not doing anything to achieve my big goals because I'm burnt out. I'm like over it. The big goal seems so far away and I'm doing nothing to like pep myself up to continue because I'm just sort of being so down on myself and saying like, oh, whatever, it's not really that big of an achievement. Like, a hard way to live, a hard way to live. And yes, I have let imposter syndrome stop me in my tracks so many times. really disheartening and hard. And that is another reason why it's so important to say you did a good job. It's the smallest fucking thing, even if it's the smallest thing. Celebrating yourself is literally an act of compassion to yourself. Like, this world is scary and hard to deal with as it is. And if we can't be on our own side, then it's going to make life so much harder. Just teaching yourself compassion is something that we need to just want to be alive. And also just like, it creates a sense of joy. Life is like full of up and downs, and like a lot of life is downs. And so if we can just like really, really revel in the good stuff that happens, like it's gonna make life so much happier and better. Going through a really hard day at work and then coming home, celebrating that, celebrating the fact that you had a productive day, you know, making yourself a delicious dinner or whatever you'd want to do, have a nice bath, like it just makes life so much more enjoyable, you know, instead of like coming home from a long day of work and just like feeling like you achieved nothing and then just like going to bed like annoyed at yourself. Understanding that you did a really good job and you got through another day, which is just like an achievement in itself, by the way, especially with the world how it is right now. That's an achievement in itself, you know? And also to know that when you get home, you're gonna feel so proud of yourself makes you kind of wanna like do the day, you know, get on with the day. You know, when I'm finding work really hard, if there's something at the end of the day that I'm excited for, like a cake or, you know, sitting down in bed and like watching my favorite film, like that gets me through the day much faster than just like thinking, oh, I'm gonna go home and just like feel bad and then I just have to do this whole day all over again. It just like makes the days go by so much smoother. Just knowing, you know, if something hard happens in the day, just to know that at the end of it, you're gonna get home and you're gonna feel proud of yourself and just be like, enjoy the rest of your night is good. I obviously am still dealing with imposter syndrome, but I have been reading quite a lot about it because I think that though I have experienced it a lot, I've done probably close to no work to fix it or to make myself feel better about it. But very, very recently, especially after this show, I was like, God, this is so annoying. Like, why can't I just like congratulate myself and be happy with myself? Like, ooh. I was like, you know what? Let's just like actually figure out like little tools in which we can help ourselves be proud of ourselves. Literally, the smallest things will help. I think one main thing, which is what I do, I have anxiety and OCD. When I'm in like an OCD cycle or if I'm really panicking about something, sitting down and saying like, you know that this is your OCD talking. You know that this is your anxiety talking. Just understanding the feeling that you're going through and just like acknowledging its presence is extremely helpful. And I wonder whether doing that with imposter syndrome will work the same, but I know that when I'm starting to really, really panic with anxiety, especially if it's about something very abstract, sitting down, and sometimes I just say it out loud to myself, just saying like, you know that this is your anxiety talking. You know that this is your OCD talking. You've had this feeling before and we've gotten over it. Just like acknowledging that and not letting it sort of mix in with my actual emotions, because I just feel like anxiety and OCD are just these like overwhelming emotions. Just acknowledging that you've been through this before and you've survived and it's gonna pass and it's just another part of your brain talking to you and trying to freak you out. Like that's very, very helpful with anxiety. So I wonder if we could do the same with imposter syndrome, you know, if we're feeling pretty down on ourselves, even after we had like a really good day, just sitting down and saying like, you had a great day. You know what you did. You achieved everything. You are a person who is able to achieve things. And you know that you're feeling down about yourself because imposter syndrome is within us. And it's telling you that you don't deserve celebration and it's not true and you've been there before and like let's try move on from it. Like I wonder if that's like one thing that I'm gonna try to see if it helps. Okay, yeah. Another thing is like reframing your thoughts. You know, so I kind of mentioned in the beginning that if you're always kind of putting yourself down and telling yourself that you are unable to achieve things, like if you're not thinking positively about yourself, you're probably thinking negatively about yourself. So I think like trying to reframe your thoughts is really important. Again, maybe saying it out loud or like writing it down even. I write literally like everything down on paper because, well, my AA program taught me to write everything down. The act of like writing your thoughts can sometimes be really, really helpful. But reframing your thoughts, I think, is something that is super important. Instead of saying, I don't belong here, this was a mistake, I don't know why I'm here, I don't know why I achieved this thing, try to just tell yourself, you did a good job, you're here for a reason, you worked hard to get here, and you deserve every opportunity that comes your way. I think literally just forcing your brain to think these things immediately makes the imposter syndrome like dissipate slightly. Because imposter syndrome at the end of the day is just another form of mental illness, you know? And I know that I suffer from my mental illness the worst when I'm just like not putting in the work to tell myself that I am safe and happy and these are just my mental illnesses telling me that I'm unsafe and unhappy, and just sort of, I feel like acknowledging them almost gives them less power, because mental illness loves to just sneak in there and tell you that this is just the way you think, and it's not, you know? It's mental illness. And I think talking about it and acknowledging it is like super helpful in fighting it, because it has its ways of just getting into your brain and telling you that this is the real way you feel, and everything that you're thinking, everything you're panicking about is real, and it's not, you know, it's just not. So I would say that that is something that's really important, you know, just overriding the imposter syndrome thoughts with positive thoughts. I know it sounds so corny, but I really do think it helps. Okay, keeping a wins journal. For my sobriety program, I have to write a gratitude list every day, which I recommend anyone doing anyway. It's very, very helpful just for your mental in general. But sometimes they want you to write underneath your gratitude list, they want you to say, what did I do well today? And it really makes you think about your whole day, and when you're having a day where you feel like you achieved nothing and you're not proud of anything, I think sitting down and genuinely going through your day in your head and figuring out what you did well and writing it down is extremely helpful, because you're doing little achievements throughout the day that you don't even realize. You know, it could be even just like, oh, I bought my friend a coffee, or I held the door open for this person, or anything like that. Like, those are small achievements that you should be proud of. Making your bed in the morning is a huge one, you know. That's a great win. That's the win that starts the day. Getting out of bed, you know, whatever it is, like, those are small wins that we should just be proud of and should acknowledge. And I think sitting down, going through your day, writing each little thing down, like, you will have a list of things that you did well, and that will make you feel so much better. I've been doing that for a while, not religiously though, so I have to start doing that every day, because it's a constant process, you know. It's a constant thing that we have to just like keep doing. I think something that human beings do is we focus on perfection, not progress. We have a goal in our minds and we want to achieve the goal, and anything that isn't the goal we don't really care about. And that's something we should really work on. Celebrating progress, you know, getting one step closer to the goal should be celebrated. Figuring out something you needed in order to get to the goal should be celebrated. This all needs to be celebrated. We can't just wait for the big goal to be achieved in order for us to be proud of ourselves, because who knows if we're even going to be proud of ourselves. Who knows if we're even going to be proud of ourselves when we get to the final goal. Like, celebrating the little bits on the way, very important, very, very important. And I think writing each thing down is essential. I'm very pro writing things down, you know, get a little journal and just write your shit down. I think it's just the act of writing everything down, it's a ritual, and you just seeing it on the page sort of like solidifies it. Okay, accepting compliments. That's something I find impossible sometimes. If someone tells me I'm ugly or stupid or annoying, I'll believe it 100% immediately. If someone says, oh, I'm nice and they like my shoes or they enjoy my work, like, I'll think that they're lying to me. I will immediately go to, like, why is this person saying this? It's not true. When someone gives me a compliment, I always respond with an excuse for the thing that they complimented me on. Like, let's say someone says, oh, I really like your hair today. I'll like respond by saying like, oh, haven't washed my hair in like a week, something like that, you know? Someone's like, oh, I like your shoes. I'll be like, oh, they're really uncomfortable. it's like a weird way of like deflecting the compliment. So I think just like learning just to say like thanks or thank you when someone compliments you, and like just leave it at that, and not like go on this weird tangent about like how your hair probably looks good because you washed it for the first time in a month because like you've been really depressed and you haven't washed your hair, and now you finally wash your hair, so you probably think, oh, my hair just looks good because it's clean. No, just don't do that because I do that all the time. Someone will compliment me and I'll go on this long story about a reason as to why it probably looks good or smells good or like whatever it is, you know. I think just the act of just saying thank you and moving on is very helpful. I think there's a bunch of stuff that we could do, but I think if we start with those little things, we'll definitely see an improvement in it. I think just like being able just to say thank you when someone gives you a compliment is like very important, but I also just think acknowledge the little wins. That is like probably the most important, and I think the best way to do that is to go through your day, write things down. I think even writing things down as you go, you know, if you're able to, on your phone even, you know, if you gave someone a compliment, write that down as a win. You know, if you haven't been eating enough vegetables recently and you finally like ate a carrot, like write that down. Acknowledging everything that you do well is so helpful, and it's so easy for us to just like bypass everything good that we do and to not really acknowledge it. But for some reason we acknowledge all the bad things that we do. Like every time I like say something that was a bit silly or I regret something, like I'll think about it all the time, even if it's the smallest thing ever. But for some reason, like the smallest good thing I do, I don't think about. That has to change. That has to change. I think we have to just really, really, really spend time acknowledging the good things as well as the bad things, you know. It's okay to acknowledge the negative things if you feel like that's something you want to work on, but acknowledge the positives as well, because you're doing so many positives that you probably don't even realize. And I think just the act of writing everything down is really going to be very helpful. I'm going to do it too. But yeah, I don't know. Positive energy is hard to come by, and it's like very much a self-driven thing. And in a world where things seem a little, you know, up and down, I think that just reminding yourself that you have yourself and you are able to be a positive force in your life and not just a negative force, I think it's really, really important to remind yourself of that, because you can be positive. Like, I promise you, not everything has to be doom and gloom. Like, I think it does sometimes. It does not. It's just putting in the work and the practice to remind yourself of like everything good that you've done and everything good you're going to achieve and have achieved, and just like everything. And I think that with that, you'll be able to walk with your head a little higher. You'll be able to wake up in the morning feeling good about yourself immediately. Like, I think there are small steps in order to improve your mentality in that way. But anyway, I hope I said something relevant to anyone. I think even talking about it for me on this podcast is very helpful. I feel a little bit better. I'm gonna practice what I preach, and I'm gonna write down lists of things I do well. I'm going to acknowledge the good things. I'm going to acknowledge when imposter syndrome is taking over. And hopefully over time, these things will just become second nature, as opposed to me having to really work on them, you know. It takes a certain amount of time, I can't remember how long. It takes a certain amount of time for something to become a habit, and I think just bringing in these positive habits is like very helpful, and it's just gonna improve our mentalities so much. So anyway, I'm gonna work on that, and I hope you work on it too if you're feeling the same way. And just know that I totally understand, I get it. It's really hard, but you achieve things and you should celebrate yourself, and the pride you feel for other people, you should feel that for yourself, you know? There's nothing wrong with you. You didn't trick anyone into thinking things. People are smarter than we think. Quite hard to trick them, you know? So just understand that you are a positive force. You are achieving things on your own merit. Like, there isn't some sort of weird conspiracy going on that's making you seem like you're achieving things, but you're not. Like, you're just achieving things. Like, you're doing a good job, okay? And I think it's really important that we try and like remind ourselves of that and try and remind other people of that. And I think that we're just gonna wake up much happier if we are able to do that. But anyway, I love you guys so much. And thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. It's super helpful to me, and you can see every time I post anything. And yeah, just join our little family, and let's just like work on being a little bit more positive about ourselves. I think the world will be a better place. Anyway, I love you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Okay. Love you, bye.